You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes writers feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for point of view.
All right, how y'all doing out there today? Yes, it's Jessie. My voice has sort of recovered. And of course, you know I miss you when we're not talking. Now, before I get into the official start of the show, I got a couple things I want to talk about that don't fit with the rest of my show. You know, when I make my announcements and silly little things. Alright, first of all, big shout out, Justin Kinney. You did an outstanding job covering for me. Yes, you did. Thank you, Justin. Big shout out. And thanks to everybody that hangs out in the chat room with me. I'm getting a little group of regulars. Now, that doesn't mean if you're listening on Memorex, you're any less important. I've recently taken a peek. I seem to have a bunch of you over on iHeartRadio. And I thank you for that, and as well as my iTunes and other podcast listeners. I just find it a lot of fun to interact with all my listeners. Now, for those of you that are listening via podcast, you are always welcome to drop me an email at jessiespov@klrnradio.com. All right, and I really don't say thank you to my listeners often enough. I should probably do it more often, because if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here. I mean, I love what I do, but I'd be talking to myself if it wasn't for my listeners. All right. Yes, I have a stack of show prep. But I have one more thing I want to talk about before I get to the official show prep stuff. And this one doesn't fit in any of my boxes. So we're just going to knock it out and say it and be done with it. Charles Manson is dead. Charles Manson is dead. And I know that doesn't seem like much to most of you. But I am thrilled that one more piece of evil has stopped drawing air. I don't know if you understand what that means to me. No, I wasn't around for the Sharon Tate murders. No, I wasn't around for any of it. However, if you haven't figured this out, I am, if nothing else, a student of history and an avid reader. What, you didn't know I was an avid reader? Wait a minute. I have several books on my desk right now. Yes, several. I've usually got a fiction, sometimes two fictions, but I also read a lot of nonfiction. Why? I fully believe if we don't learn from our past, we're destined to repeat it. And so that's why I do it. And that's why I'll often speak about things I was never alive to see. But yet, I can tell you all about them, or enough about them. Especially when they are one stop in 10 on an hour-long show. But often I have so many other facts I don't get on the air. No, I'm not going to start writing. I love writers. I love authors. I love books. I'm not going to become one. And for those of you who are wondering, I do have another show. It's called Jesse's Coffee Shop. And I talk books and writing. And that shouldn't surprise you. Because if you've ever checked out my bio, you've seen the additional show link. Alright. If you're interested in that, just shoot me an email, Jesse's POV or jessescoffeeshop.com. Take a look. I think, had a new episode come out tonight. I'd have to double check. I sometimes don't remember if I have something ready to drop. I don't do every show live. Alright, so. Ding dong, more evil has left the planet. And I am happy that Charles Manson is no more. I am very happy Charles Manson is no more. So, all right. Moving right along. There are many, many other things to be talking about. We have troops stationed all over the world. I am a huge supporter of our military. It's an energy drink, not a beer. I've had a long day already, folks. However, troops in Japan will not be able to have beer because there's been another drunk driving incident and it was fatal. U.S. military has indefinitely barred service members from drinking alcohol after a U.S. Marine fatally struck an Okinawa man in a collision of two vehicles Sunday, in which, quote, alcohol may have been a factor, unquote. U.S. Forces Japan also declared all service members restricted to base and to their residences after the crash. A 21-year-old Marine had 3 times the legal level of alcohol in his blood at the time of the crash. All right. I love our troops. And I think it's fantastic they're all over the world. I also think this accident could have happened here in the U.S., in Japan, in Korea. Could have happened anywhere. And I do have a solution for it. Guys, 1, obvious, personal responsibility. Don't drink and drive. 2, I've seen chains of command institute a system where you can call and ask for a ride if you've been drinking. No questions asked, even if you're underage. They may talk to you about it later, but you will not face any negative consequences on your military record. So, I've seen those systems work. Now, also, I'm going to suggest to especially my military, but everybody out there. Yes, everybody out there, please, please. 1, don't drink and drive. 2, if your designated driver starts drinking, have a plan B. Call a cab, call an Uber, call a Lyft, call a friend. All my friends know I am pretty much sober all the time. I'm not a big drinker. It's just not something I'm into. I am more likely to have an energy drink and overindulge in chocolate than I am to pick up a beer. In fact, I'm not into beer. My husband brews it. I help him brew it. I don't drink it. I'm just not that into it. So that's just the facts of life. I don't know how else to describe it. All right, so if you're going to, especially with the holidays coming up, please don't drink and drive. Always have a plan B, because you never know when something will go wrong. Call a friend, call a taxi. And we all know that over the holidays, many people will be offering free rides. Take advantage of them. Please, take advantage. So there's no, I view drinking and driving as there's no excuse. All right, now that I have ranted, it makes you look bad, it makes the uniform look bad, makes the country look bad. Just don't do it. Civilian or military, it's bad news. And yes, Ron, I saw your comment about Manson in the chat room. Evil is dead. All right. Yes, I am hanging out in the chat room. KLRNradio.com/chat. All right, let's get on with other interesting things that are going on in the world. Trump. I know, I don't talk about the president. Well, when he's talking state sponsors of terror, guess what? I talk about the president. And he had some interesting comments. And I actually have something to agree with him on. Long overdue comments about North Korea. This should not have been taking this long. I'm sorry. We should have designated North Korea as a state sponsor of terror many, 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 many moons ago. And there's no easy way to put that one. But yes, we should have. And that's all there is to it. North Korea is an evil regime. North Korea has done many bad things. Let's listen to what Trump had to say today before a cabinet meeting.
Today, the United States is designating North Korea as a state sponsor of terrorism.
All right, he made the obvious. Here's the next one.
In addition to threatening the world by nuclear devastation, North Korea has repeatedly supported acts of international terrorism, including assassinations on foreign soil.
All right, I believe there he is referring to Kim Jong-nam, among others. And yes, Kim Jong-nam is not the only person that North Korea has had murdered. He's just the most prominent. Sorry, kids, he's not the only one. Can't say that he is. But he's the most prominent. So he gets all the attention. I mean, come on, it's not every day you murder your stepbrother. With one of the world's most deadly chemical weapons, no less. Talk about wanting to make sure the job got done and done right. I don't know what else he was thinking. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. Now, here's the last comment, and this was the longest but most interesting.
Tomorrow, the Treasury Department will be announcing an additional sanction, and a very large one, on North Korea, and this will be going on over the next 2 weeks. It'll be the highest level of sanctions by the time it's finished over a 2-week period. The North Korean regime must be lawful. It must end its unlawful nuclear and ballistic missile development and cease all support for international terrorism, which it is not doing.
All right, so, and I happen to, quite frankly, agree. Unfortunately, I don't think that's the only state sponsor of terror we have out there. I think that's one of several that are undesignated state sponsors of terror. I think more countries should be declared state sponsors of terror, and I think our country should essentially refuse to do business with any state sponsor of terror. I know that sounds harsh, but why should we do business with the likes of Iran and North Korea, Cuba? Not that Cuba is a state sponsor of terror, but they are a pretty mean place. So I certainly don't want to do business with them. And I don't think we should. All right. And yes, I was just actually chatting with the people, with a couple of friends in the chat room. They heard that can open. They're still going, beer, beer. So I shot them a picture of the energy drink with today's chat room sitting right behind it. All right. There's a lot of other things going on, but let's focus on North Korea at least for a few more moments before we go to break. Because, yes, I do have to pay those radio station bills, but I got about 5 minutes. So, we've got the U.S. military having drunk 21-year-olds running around Japan. Guys, short version there, call a designated driver, call a ride, call a cab. But in the Asia-Pacific region, we've got Trump declaring we're going to turn North Korea into a state sponsor of terror. Mr. President, it has been long overdue. And he actually did use those words. I just didn't play that part of the clip, but I agree with him completely. Now, what nobody is looking at, we will discuss more North Korea ahead, it is that, okay, everybody's watching North Korea. Who paid attention to the Chinese Communist Party Congress last month? Anybody? Anybody? Nope, didn't think so. President Xi Jinping cited successful island building as the South China Sea as one of his top achievements, as well as quote-unquote successful prosecution of maritime rights. Now, those rights are at odds with international law, because China was taken to the International Court of Arbitration over its real-world Minecraft game going on in the South China Sea. And in recent years, it's not as eye-popping as artificial atolls popping up. And that's why these things kind of get pushed off to the side a little bit. But they are no less important. And China is militarizing these artificial islands. They're expanding military bases. They are constructing radar and sensor installations, hardened shelters, logistical warehouses for fuel, water, ammunition. And they're going to essentially, I'm afraid they are going to essentially tell the other countries, you don't even have rights to sail through here. Of course, they keep saying, oh, well, you can come through here. You just can't fish here. You can't hang out here. You can't do anything. I mean, we've got runways for fighter jets and communications hardware already in place on these islands. And so now we've got missile silos. What good's a missile silo without a missile? Anybody got that answer? Because a missile silo without a missile is nothing but an empty storage space. And it's not going to do you a darn bit of good. So you got to have the missile to go with the missile silo. And it's going to impact some smaller countries. Now, these countries did try. I've got to give them all the credit in the world. They took China, one of the biggest dogs in the Asia-Pacific region, and certainly a world power, to the International Court of Arbitration. And they won. But China looked at that ruling and went, yeah, we don't care. We're going to keep doing what we want. We don't stand by this ruling. All right, folks, I have reached the bottom of the hour. I will continue with more on the South China Sea and goings-on in North Korea, and maybe a few other surprise stories when I come back after I pay those radio station bills. In the meantime, you can always find me on Jesse's Twitter at Jesse's POV. And I will see you on the other side.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687. 687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. you'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Down if you wanna, you can run away if you wanna, you can pretend that this is totally okay if you wanna, you can play dead if you wanna, forget what they said if you wanna, turn your back on the country needing you right now, but I don't wanna.
Alright, thank y'all for hanging in there with me while we paid those radio station bills. All right, moving right along. I've got more with North Korea. Like I said, China is essentially trying to thumb its nose at the region and taking over large swaths of the South China Sea. And Vietnam hoped to drill for natural gas off its own coast. But China summoned the Vietnamese ambassador and threatened military action if Hanoi went forward with development in its own economic exclusion zone. So Vietnam quietly backed down. This is the problem with ignoring the South China Sea. While I'm not saying North Korea isn't a larger immediate threat, I'm saying that we need to keep our eyes on both the South China Sea and North Korea. And if we can't keep our eyes on two targets, we have a problem. Because my sense is that if North Korea, which, by the way, heard it here, looks like they're preparing new missile launches. Yes, probably in response to our Thanksgiving or upcoming for a Christmas present. You know, they do call those missile launches a gift package. So maybe it's North Korea's Christmas gift to the United States to launch more missiles. And, of course, this will in turn ruin the Christmas and or Thanksgiving of our troops in the Asia-Pacific region. So, you know, Barack Obama wasn't very big on combating the South China Sea, and so far Trump has asserted the right of navigation, but there hasn't been a concerted U.S. diplomatic push to back the Chinese off from their encroachment of other countries' rights in the South China Sea. Primarily, I believe, because we do want their help with North Korea. Now, North Korea is moving ahead with its submarine ballistic missile program. There are new indications of shipbuilding and missile ejection testing. Yeah, you haven't heard this on your news because they haven't launched, and that's usually when the mainstream gets involved. They don't mention it to you until there's a launch. Well, there is commercial satellite untangle my tongue here, friends. Commercial satellite imagery of the Singpo South shipyard indicates that North Korea is on an aggressive schedule to build and deploy its first operational ballistic missile submarine. There's been continued movement of parts and components into and out of the parts yards adjacent to construction halls. And we don't know when, of course, this is going to be launched. I mean, come on, North Korea will launch a ICBM without talking to anybody first, so would you actually expect them to tell us about when they're going to launch a ballistic missile submarine? I don't think so. Throughout 2017, there's been continued movements of parts and components into and out of the two shipyards adjacent to the construction halls in the center of the shipyard. However, they have, there's been movement of the gantry and tower cranes that service this, and that suggests prolonged and ongoing activity in the shipbuilding program. There have been pictures of things that may be part of a pressure hull were brought in. These are approximately 7 meters. Down to 6 meters. And there's also imagery that shows an object visible at the top of a service tower. And this is usually reminiscent of a launch canister. And this object does not appear in previous satellite or ground images of the test stand. So, this states that they are probably doing ejection tests. Remember, they were doing these back in July, friends. Now, there was a submersible missile test stand barge berthed at the same location. It's still there. However, it has been covered with tarps or netting. So we can't tell what's going on exactly on it. Because they are trying to hide their activities, because they know that there are satellites over their country 24/7, especially over this area. They know we're watching it. Now, about 4 kilometers to the east is a large dry dock. This is where a Romeo-class attack submarine was transferred to. It's been undergoing what appears to be a complete overhaul. And there's another Romeo-class attack submarine from the West Fleet that's been in the dry dock at the Tassara shipyard on the northwest coast since 2013. And while this was going slowly, the activity in both of these regions has been increased. Now, obviously, access to these pictures is very challenging and expensive. But I do what I can to get a hold of the analysis of them. I can send you a link to where I look at most of it, and I do work off some of their analysis and do some of my own. But I'm not the only one that say, here come the missiles. Foreign Policy Magazine, which is one of my favorite sources, says it's coming. And I've been following them for some time. Now, here's the deal. I want to remind you of something. And I don't know if you've heard, I know I've played it before, but I think it bears repeating. Okay? What happens if? What is going to be the immediate reaction? What's going to happen in the United States in those immediate moments after a launch? And I do have an audio clip. It's just taken me a minute to catch it for you. You guys don't even want to see my audio clips library. Trust me. It drives me crazy, so I can only imagine what it would do to any of you who, well, let's just say my organization system can be a little dodgy at best. That's why it sometimes takes me a second. Here it is. This is Secretary of Defense Mattis, the unclassified version of what happened, what if.
The biggest issue that we have, well, if you're going to describe big, what happens when somebody knocks on the door of the Oval Office and says, Mr. President, North Korea has just launched? In summary, I'm not going to ask you to give us anything classified out.
The first step, of course, would be that our ballistic missile defense forces at sea and in Alaska, California, the various radars would be feeding in, and they would do what they're designed to do as we make every effort to take them out. The response, if that's what you're referring to, after the immediate defense would, of course, depend on the President and laying out options, a wide array of options, I will tell you, and in alliance with our allies as well, I might add, because many of them have roles to play here, have indicated they'll be with us. And we would take the action the President directed, and I'm sure the Congress would be intimately involved.
All right, notice something in that response. The military takes the initial role on protecting us. The President doesn't have to authorize the military to protect us. They just swing into action and do it. Now, here's one more little brief clip.
Has anything in our nuclear chain of command doctrine changed between the previous administration and this administration?
No, it has not.
So the chain of command, the response, the first strike, that is all the same, correct?
Yes, sir.
Nothing in the nuclear doctrine has changed. Nothing has changed. So, chain of command, everything is still the same as it was in the Obama administration. Now, what the big question is what would Russia and China do? Well, Russia seems to like opposing us. And China's been trying to distance themselves from Pyongyang a little bit. They don't mind them acting a fool because it gives them cover in the South China Sea. But here's what United States Ambassador Nikki Haley said about Russia at the latest UN Security Council meeting this past Friday about Russia and their actions. And I love Nikki Haley. She calls it like she sees it. She doesn't mince words.
In a world in which the Council's time and attention could be productively devoted to 100 different things, Russia is wasting our time. Conflicts are raging. Outlaw states are acquiring nuclear weapons. The human dignity of millions is violated every day. Brutal regimes are using chemical weapons on their own people. All the members of this council and their staff have worked for months on preserving and strengthening the Joint Investigative Mechanism. We have worked knowing that lives were at stake. We have worked knowing the International Chemical Weapons Non-Proliferation Regime was also at stake. And all that time, hundreds of hours, has been for nothing.
All right, so we've absolutely tried to work with Russia. And they don't want to talk to anybody. I don't know how to explain it any other way. And unfortunately, and I'm going to stick my nose in here quite a bit, President Moon of South Korea is doing his country no favors. President Moon of South Korea is doing his country no favors. He is advocating strictly the use of dialogue and diplomatic maneuvers. Well, I know I've played some of these clips many a time, but you know what? I'm all for diplomacy. But I want to remind you what the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Dunford, had to say a few months ago.
I think for all of us, we should give Secretary Tillerson full support in attempting to resolve this diplomatically and economically, even as we recognize that it may not happen, and there may have to be a follow-up option, which is the military option. But we can wring our hands and say it'll never happen, or we can roll up our sleeves and make an effort to have a concerted economic and diplomatic plan that does cause KJU, Kim Jong-un, to come to the table and begin to have a conversation, at least stop the path that he's on right now, which is further development of intercontinental ballistic missiles and nuclear capability. And to me, it makes all the sense in the world to prove the theory of the case and to work this for a few more months.
Yes, he said work this for a few more months. Now, I know I just told you that clip's a few months old, but months in the minds of a military leader, they look long term. That could be a year. We are coming up on a new year. And if North Korea is truly going to act a fool and quote unquote give us more gifts for Christmas in terms of launches, and they've been nice and quiet for a while, I could see stuff happening. Now, I have one more audio clip I want to play for you tonight, and I don't have time to fully discuss this issue. But this was what Commander of U.S. Forces Afghanistan had to say about the new authorities he was given as the U.S. has been attacking drug labs in Afghanistan.
So the new South Asia strategy is not quite 90 days old, and under this strategy, I received new authorities, and this is for U.S. Forces Afghanistan. Again, thanks, Mike, for highlighting that. And these new authorities allowed us to attack the enemy across the breadth and the depth of the battle space, and also functionally, to attack their financial networks, their revenue streams. Previously, the authorities required us to be operating in proximity to Afghan forces. So we could strike when they were in the defense. We could strike when they were... But targets that went after revenue streams, support infrastructure, training bases, infiltration lanes, these targets were much harder to get to and really were not a part of the authority. So the new authorities have been significant in that, in enabling us to get after the enemy in new ways.
All right, so the new authorities granted by the Trump administration are making a difference in the battle against the Taliban in Afghanistan. And that may not seem like much, but it's huge to the men and women on the ground. Being able to call in an airstrike without having to be in the local area or be with an Afghan force because they found a drug lab that the Taliban is using to fund their operations. It's a really big deal, friends. I don't know if you realize how big of a deal it is. So, while North Korea prepares to launch more missiles, Russia attempts to stop investigation of Bashar al-Assad's use of chemical weapons against his own people, probably so they can attempt to hide their dirty laundry from the world. We are attempting to take action to stop Taliban from running roughshod over the innocent people in Afghanistan. Now, I'm going to touch very briefly on one other thing, and I know I am almost out of time and done on the air here on KLRNRadio.com, where Liberty and Reason still reign, is hot on my heels. So I want to do two things. I want to say my thoughts and prayers go out to the families of the recent fallen border guard here in the United States. And I want to take a minute and wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. I will not be live on Thanksgiving evening. I will do my show the day before, but Thanksgiving will be a very special, somewhat humorous episode of Thanksgiving well wishes. So it's taken from friends, coworkers, family members, and it's a twist on things. Instead of the troops wishing their friends and family back home happy Thanksgiving, it's people sending their thanks and well wishes to the troops that are deployed across the world so that we may sleep under a blanket of peace every night. All right, folks, I'm not going to do my usual show close tonight. My voice is barely hanging in there, and I don't want to kill the rest of the week this early. So, just as a reminder, you can always follow me on Twitter at Jesse's POV. You can email me at the station, Jesse's POV at KLRNRadio.com. And, just as a reminder, I love your input. I love your feedback. And I look forward to seeing you later this week and, of course, next week. Next week will be a normal week around here. All right, folks. That's it. And I'm out of here.